President. Let's go to who I know is there, and that is Congressman John Yarmuth, Democrat, top Democrat, actually, on the House Budget Committee. Always good to see you, Congressman. How are you?
I'm doing great, Chris. Good to see you, too.
So I want to play for you, and maybe we'll have to re-rack that, what then-candidate Trump said on the campaign trail about what he planned to do once he was in office. Take a listen.
We are going to rebuild our military. It's going to be bigger and better and stronger than ever.
As soon as I take office, I will ask Congress to fully eliminate the defense sequester and will submit a new budget to rebuild our military. It is so depleted. As part of removing the defense sequester, I will ask Congress to fully offset the costs of increased military spending. We want to deter, avoid, and prevent conflict through our unquestioned military strength. We have the greatest people in the world. We have to give them the greatest equipment.
So, Congressman, you talk to folks in the White House, you talk to Mick Mulvaney. They say, look, on the campaign trail, Donald Trump repeatedly said he was going to build up the military. He wouldn't touch big entitlement programs like Social Security. So, is this just him keeping his word to the American people?
Well, you could certainly make that case, Chris, but he also didn't let the American people know what he was going to cut. He didn't let them know he was going to eliminate 20% of the budget for NIH, which is doing incredibly promising research, and much of that research would stop in its tracks. He didn't tell them he was going to eliminate 30% of the diplomatic budget through the State Department. He didn't talk about the fact that he was going to end programs like Meals on Wheels, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, National Endowment for the Arts. There are a lot of things that when he says that we're going to offset the cost, people didn't understand exactly what he was talking about. And I think now they get a sense of how cruel and heartless this budget is.
You know, when he came before the press corps yesterday in the briefing room, he got pretty hard pushback about whether this was a compassionate budget. We have that sound now about his explanation about some of these cuts. Let me play it.
We can't spend money on programs just because they sound good and great. Meals on Wheels sounds great. Again, that's a state decision to fund that particular portion to it, to take the federal money and give it to the states and say, look, we want to give you money for programs that don't work. I can't defend that anymore.
And in fact, he even suggested that after-school programs that feed children, hungry children, do not show any effect, that he can go to somebody who's paying their tax dollars and say, your money is being well spent. Your reaction to that?
I think if you go, he talked about single mothers. I think if you go to any single mother and say, would you be willing to spend $1 or $2 a year to make sure that kids get something to eat during the week when they're in school, or that senior citizens who are homebound get meals that keep them alive? I think most single mothers and just about everybody else in the country would say that's an investment worth making. You don't have to die to know that programs make a difference. And those of us who have helped deliver Meals on Wheels and have been to visit these after-school programs, and who have just dealt with the benefits of education funding and many of the other things that they're proposing to cut, know that these programs are important to the fabric of our country.
So, do you think, though, overall, that the president is right when he looks for more money for defense? And I want to read what John McCain put out in a statement yesterday. He said 2/3 of Navy F-18s can't fly. Marine Corps pilots are flying less hours per month than their Russian and Chinese counterparts. Air Force maintainers are stealing parts from museum pieces to keep their planes in the air. And just 2 of 60 Army Brigade combat teams are at the highest level of readiness. Is this budget increase for defense necessary for our national security?
Well, certainly those figures sound pretty upsetting. But on the other hand, we're spending more as a nation on defense than the next 8 countries in the world combined. We've got to figure out how to spend it more intelligently. We're now proposing to build hundreds and hundreds of new F-35s, so maybe we don't need to make sure that all the F-18s are working as well, because they're going to be out of service anyway. I don't know exactly what the right number is. I'm sure that some increase in the defense budget is justified, and the Democratic alternative budget that we'll propose will have an increase in defense spending. But that doesn't mean that you can ignore all of the important safeguards that are in the other side of the discretionary budget, and they slash those. You're a lot more likely to die from food poisoning or from environmental hazards or from cancer or diabetes or Alzheimer's than you are from an attack from overseas right now. And he basically ignores all those important things that we're doing on the other side of the discretionary budget that will keep people healthy and safe.
Congressman John Yarmuth, thank you so much. Good to see you.